Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity on behalf of StarCastTV. Upper right hand corner, we have Royal starting as the red Terran. Bottom right hand corner, we have Stork starting as the yellow Protoss. This is on Polypoid and should be an interesting one. Stork, an absolute master at really having fantastic mid-game engagements versus his opponents. I'm curious how he'll stack up against Royal, because Royal, I really enjoy his PvT. Oftentimes he will go for riskier openers that apply more pressure to his opponent and then just expand behind it using potential drops, potential vulture run-bys, things like that to defend his expansions rather than gluts of siege tanks in the mid-game. However, Stork classically has been very, very solid at defending the initial 2-3 bases and just kind of doing that solid macro and then mid-game engagement past that. So he might just stack up poorly, or I should say that Royal just might stack up poorly versus Stork as far as just flat gameplay. However, I will say, as far as top-tier Terran, Royal is definitely in that category at the moment. And because of Stork's inactivity, I'm not sure you could argue that he is in that top tier of Protoss anymore. ASL appearances notwithstanding. In my heart he is, though. I'll just put it that way. Gateway opener. So going to apply some initial zealot pressure. We'll see if it's just going to be the one gate opener. Oftentimes it is a taxation on your opponent's micro, and it looks like he is also going to get first scout. So he's going to know exactly where to send that zealot if he opts to do so. So probe entering the base. Might even get some harassment on that initial barracks. Let's see if this does provoke getting that first scout. Nope, looks like he's just going to grab the assimilator regardless, rather than going for initial zealot play. I was kind of hoping to see it, like just an attempt, but no, looks like it's just going to be straight movement towards Dragoon. This does give Royal a bit of information because he knows that his opponent is either in the top left or bottom right. As far as the follow-up, initial Marine being produced, that probe really mixing it up in the main. Cybernetics core being built to the kind of at an odd location, bottom left, and I'm wondering if this is to maybe allow the SCV scout in initially with that first Dragoon. No, with that. So there is a zealot being built. Interesting, Royal scouting the middle of the map. A little bit worried with this probe in his base. Potentially, did that Marine get the kill? Something got the kill because that probe is no longer inside the base. Factory being produced. Wonder if I could find the SCV that did it. And you can see a very defensive posture from Royal, knowing that incursions could be possible. Much more defensive construction. A zealot is making its way across now. First Dragoon being constructed as well. But Stork is upgrading range and just kind of doing normal things behind this. We'll see if he gets any bonus out of that zealot. Just 2 Marines now at the natural expansion. 3 Marines with some decent micro should be able to deal with that zealot without too much trouble. So checking the middle of the map just in case there was some sort of proxy gate there. There was an era not too long ago where it was typical to just go for one gate proxy pressure. So it could be that is what Royal was thinking. But now finding that base bottom right. And let's see if he again thinks, okay, maybe there's proxy out here. Based on this, nope, scouting pattern finds it immediately. So again, I don't know. Sees the Cybernetics core, sees it spinning, moves right back out. And look at this, counter pressure from Royal. So chasing down that zealot with the vulture as well. That SCV having to rush out of the way though to avoid that Dragoon as it's making its way back across. But Royal grabbing that natural expansion. Stork grabbing his as well. And things resetting a bit. Still curious on this location and the thoughts behind it. But anyway, Zealot holding that ramp to prevent any additional information. SCV looks like it did die for the cause. Vulture hanging out in no man's land just to see if a Dragoon is going to continue to press out. Mines being researched. 4 Marines holding the front, no bunker as of yet. And Dragoons, you can see just kind of at a defensive phalanx, wanting to cover that natural expansion or spot potential vultures as they're making their way across and potentially minimize mine placement moving forward or get some shots off, at least know where mines are laid. Dragoon peeking into the 6 o'clock location now. This is almost like mind games because this is just a half second at as the Vulture's making its way there. And if he was there like a few seconds prior, might have been able to disrupt the mine placement right there. Looks like mine's not quite researched, but it looks like that 6 o'clock base instead is going to get mined. But man, just a half second off, and Stork might have been able to create just some disruption there. Worker count is dead even. 2 additional gateways being plopped down, and a observatory with the robotics facility already in place. Second refinery being grabbed. Dragoon hunting down the Vulture as it has placed 2 of its mines at that forward location. Looks like it might die before it's able to place its 3rd. Couple mines trailing. And Royal looks like, yeah, it's gonna... Let's see if he goes for a quick 3rd behind this. He's sticking to 1 factory at this stage, so playing it economically light. Just now tacking on that 2nd. A Zealot actually walking forward for Stork. So 1 mine already wiped out. And it looks like he's going to sacrifice this initial Zealot to very rapidly grab the 6 o'clock base. Feeling very little pressure from Royal. And will take the economic lead with that. Otherwise, things just about dead even. So, just a defensive mine cluster on the front there for Royal, leading all the way, and actually a mine hugging the bunker as well. I don't think I've ever seen that. Wondering if splash from mines, people have to let me know whether this is the case or not. I'm curious if splash from mines does damage to buildings as well. Very curious, because I haven't thought to note that prior. Siege tech being upgraded, 2 siege tanks already out. The initial observer spotting those mines as it's making the way across pylon wall along the 6 o'clock location. And the observer at least is going to be able to go in and see the factory count. And I think upon seeing this, yeah, get in position for it. The siege tanks twitching to attention underneath. 2 Goliaths being built. And the Comsat station. And a starport as well. +1 weapons being upgraded. So I think Royal, with that Comsat station and those Goliaths, wanting to make sure that observer doesn't hang around in this base. Dragoons clearing mines to the front. Vultures sneaking right back through. The second observer is going to spot that. Start getting that, while in a bit of the chaos, getting that information in between. I believe the Comsat able to see a quick tech switch to Stargate. So I think Stork, now that he's got this 3rd base online and that 3rd gas very quickly about to saturate, doing a quick move, potentially to carriers. And I think it might have gotten caught by that Comsat as well. Flood of factories behind this in response from Royal. 2nd machine shop being dropped as well. So canceling the starport, I think seeing that Stargate, he's like, okay, it's go time. I'm going to catch you in this tech switch and just run you over. Fleet beacon inside the natural expansion. Fortunately, a lot of this happening underneath. So yeah, Stork going for a tech switch, and unfortunately for him, I think he got caught with his pants down. The Comsat spotted it. He has an observer seeing the attack forces in between. The observer is going to see all these factories being constructed. But these are minerals that have already been invested. So Stork is going to have a very challenging time defending Royal's strong timing to follow this up. Speed being upgraded. Slight economic edge for Stork. He does have a control group of Dragoons near the front. He's got some good mine coverage, or mine clearage, I should say. Splitting the Dragoons up to maybe make a pincer attack situation for the attack force of Royal. +1 weapons is online. And Royal staging out towards the 3rd as though he's going to go for it, but there's no way with this amount of factories that he's just going to go for a 3rd. Assaulting some of the Dragoons. Doing a little bit of posturing. Some mines being planted as well. And getting some shots on the Dragoons on the low ground. And both these players, feels like there's antics on both ends, because there's no way this is... I would be shocked, honestly. So Observer dies. There is an SCV on the low ground. I would be shocked if Royal went for this, actually, and just grabbed this base. No, now he's moving out. Yeah, there's no way he was like, oh yeah, I'm just staging up this 3rd. So I think both players know it. But Stork clearing out mines behind this to potentially cut off reinforcements. Although he's honestly going to need a bulk of troops just to defend. But this is creating a delay where Royal wanting to engage these Dragoons from the rear. Siege tank on the low ground attacking to the high ground. There is that misfire chance, but this is buying Stork some time. So the Stargates are out there, but maybe to get some more troops on the ground. Has a 20 supply lead, has lost 2 Dragoons for free on the front here. Engineering Bay floating out, and Stork going for a backstab. So while the bulk of Royal's army engaging towards that natural, Stork just going to dive into Royal's natural, and those SCVs now being pulled off the line. The bunker's cleared. So potentially a base race situation now. And with Stork with that base at the 6 o'clock location, it might be to his advantage. So the natural expansion completely abandoned. Royal dealing with a lone Dragoon harassing, peeling off some siege tanks to deal with that 6 o'clock, building the engineering bay on site just to deal with some potential detection in case a Dark Templar would take the field. I don't think Stork has that level of tech. SCV's blocking the line. Siege tank on the high ground, getting a lot of Dragoon kills. Now the carrier is being built. Actually, the turret's there to help with the carriers as well. SCV's now peeling back towards that natural expansion to push the Dragoons back and do some distance mining. 3 siege tanks, and I think Royal's got the better of this exchange. Peeled off 3 siege tanks to wipe out the 6 o'clock. The natural's gone. Once this engineering bay is in place, and he just drops some turrets. With that natural expansion being, I guess, part of this is Stork will be able to cut off Goliath reinforcements, which will allow the carriers to be a little bit stronger. But upon losing this 6 o'clock and being down just to 1 base, the Dragoons trailing back and that natural expansion now being open, Royal re-landing his natural expansion is actually up in workers, if you can believe that, overall. 2 turrets and an engineering bay is also going to be able to float up and scout all of the attack force from Stork. So this is now a choke of death. Dragoons trying to attack from that high ground. Reinforcements coming from both directions, and I take it back. Stork getting a pincer attack. Unfortunately, the Dragoons on the right attacking that engineering bay rather than the siege tanks from the high ground. Maybe that's calculated to try to cut off vision. The Dragoons now peeling in, but Royal able to clear them out. More reinforcing siege tanks and whatnot moving it out, and Stork, yeah, just doesn't have enough. Chaotic game, but Royal, the victor in the end. As he was able to, I feel like one of the key moments was peeling off those siege tanks, wiping out that 6 o'clock, and diving into the natural. That engineering bay was just kind of a nice little touch at the end, with that little bit of anti-air closing down that carrier follow-up. But yeah, Stork getting caught. Well played by Royal overall. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.